Good morning. It is Tuesday, October 14th, 7:07 a.m. Central Time. So, kind of quick dive into everything. So, it looks like we are opening lower today after that big push up. And um, and so we'll just kind of see how things look. Did a quick search on Grok here just to get sentiment for the NQ. And this is kind of interesting where there's obviously some bearish chatter and an ARC actually trimmed some US tech. And so that's something I would look into kind of confirm, but that's kind of an interesting little note there. Uh, Recommending lots of puts as far as options trades. Thank you, Grok. So that's pretty cool. For GPT, we have dun dun dun. So short term, we're still bullish with GPT. So there you go. So Grok is saying bearish, GPT is saying bullish. And Claude is saying 60% bearish probability. So we got Grok saying bearish, we got Claude saying bearish, and we got GPT saying bullish. So take that with a grain of salt. It's just something I like to do in the morning. So things that are happening today. So there's been a bunch of earnings in the financial sector. So we had Goldman Sachs, which I think they beat earnings, but then I think their stock's down. Also, Citi, I think they beat earnings as well. I'm not sure about the rest, but um, lots of good numbers. It's like I think Goldman Sachs like really beat revenue and all that, and I guess their middle market and more affluent customers are lending more, which I suppose is good. Um, so there's all that. Also in the news front, I mean, I think we saw these. If you're on social media and on X and everything, I think there's some tweets on China, willing to continue negotiations and fighting to the end and all that. So I think that's just kind of talking there, kind of dropping everything. So let's look at the indexes here really quick. Actually, before doing that, another thing that's coming out on the news is I think there's a bunch of Fed speakers, and well, this is looking at earnings, which today we have all these earnings which are happening, which is fine. And then tomorrow, I think I'm paying attention to United Airlines, so nothing more outside of that. But when it comes to rate cuts, so I think everybody is expecting we'll have another 25 basis point rate cut. And I think there's Fed speakers today, and I saw in the news that one of the Fed representatives says that everybody seems to be in favor of another rate cut, which is already kind of priced in. So I think we can all expect that. So that should come. If that doesn't come, it's a problem. And so I think that's probably going to come in the next Fed meeting. I don't know. I guess since the language is it's already priced in, I don't know what stocks will do at that point. Because now if it's already priced in and they're signaling they're going to do that, then what else is there to push us higher? Um, because if it happens, then nothing should happen with the stock or with the markets, and if it doesn't happen, obviously, then we go down. So there's that. So it's pretty interesting. So big expectation here. I guess there shouldn't be any surprise. So I think that is fine. And I mean, there hasn't been any jobs data or any of the economic data because of the shutdown. So we don't really know what's happening. I'm sure the Fed knows, but we don't. Um, but I guess if there's a surprise there in any of that data, and then they kind of walk back this decision to cut rates, that would be really bad. So I guess we will just have to see. Um, so there is that. So as far as price, I guess we can look at the indexes here really quick. Doot, doot, doot. So interesting thing for me is that we broke high yesterday across the board pre-markets, and then we came back and we broke the low of yesterday, except for the Russell and except for the Dow. Um, so that kind of tells me that there's still some strength here in equities, just not in I guess, the growth areas. So we're kind of cycling back here. But even with the Russell, like we've held up, right? And so that is something I am watching to see if that leads us. And maybe that if the Russell and the Dow leads us, then maybe we kind of pause a little bit on the sell off for NQ and the ES. So that is something to watch for. So definitely set my alerts there. On the VIX front, we were cooling off and now we eke new highs on uncertainty. So there you go. So we will see if how close we can get to this 32 level that I'm watching. The dollar is kind of regaining its strength again. I mean, it's still down, but we'll see if we can really get above this area compared to the rest of the world. But the Treasury note yields dropped, so that is good. Not, I mean, good for some, bad for others. So we'll just kind of see what happens here. I'm gonna just kind of see if we break up or down. And then gold made new all-time highs in nice little pullback, but nothing too crazy. So let's see if we break that low or if we break this high. I mean, the fact that gold is making new highs even after, I mean, yeah, we made new highs as we push back up here. Everybody's pulling up, pulling back. Equities are pulling back, but gold is shooting higher and opening green, it looks like. So that is quite interesting. Um, People are willing to put money to work. I guess what I'm not watching is crypto market because I know that all crashed, and so maybe that is a chart for Bitcoin or something we should put on here. But um, yeah, that's it's a whole thing. So I think for me, I'm really just watching to see how the Russell and the Dow performs. If we can't really break this low, I don't know that we'll have a sustained sell off in the NQ and the ES. It wouldn't be like a broad market scare type of thing. Um, but maybe there's just more rotating out of NQ and ES into these other things, and especially gold. So that is what it is. But I think everybody's expecting a rate cut to come, and we'll just see how the VIX. I mean, the VIX kind of eked out. So it's interesting, actually. If you look at the VIX, oh, I lost my screen share. Let me come back. Okay, we're back. So if we look at the VIX, like we haven't really, so we got past whatever happened here in August, and we tested what happened here in June, which I don't exactly know. But this is kind of, it hasn't really reached past this in a long time. So we shall see. And so we'll see if we can break past that. And you got this level before you even get here. So, I don't know if we're going to get a scare or anything like this tariff situation back here. But we'll see. You never know. So we'll be watching that. And when we look at the mega tech here, dun, dun, dun. All right. So Apple is kind of following the cues. Had the sell off, pull back, kind of, yeah, kind of tried to attempt back up. It didn't break the low, which is good. In pre-market, we're kind of hanging out here. And it looks like we haven't broken the low yet. So it looks like we're just kind of following what the cues are doing. Similarly with Microsoft, Amazon. Oof. Nice rebound off of the support level. Pre-market's kind of at the lows, so that's a little bit muted. We got, is this Apple, double Apple? That's not supposed to be Apple. What happened there? This is supposed to be Google. So Google, let's see. Yeah, Google, we did eat. We had that sell off. We broke the high of yesterday. Now, but pre market, we're kind of at the lows again. So that is what it is. Meta, we are I mean, really holding this level. I mean, pre-market's there now, but we've been really holding this level here. So we'll see if that continues to be support, the 706 level. So that's pretty interesting. Nvidia had that gap up, push down, broke all that support, had that gap up and open, and really kind of just hung out. But it closed green, which is good. But now pre-market we're opening below, so that's not good. So we'll see how we go. Tesla had that push down, tried to make a new high, closed on highs, but now pre-market we're just hanging out near the open. And then the Qs are the Qs, doing what the Qs do. So I mean all of the mega tech cap are basically kind of gapping, not gapping down, but pre-market they're opening near the opening or the lows of yesterday. So that is kind of not weakness, more of just it's holding, it's holding, but like nobody's leading us up, which I think we're seeing in the NQs. So that for me is a tell of like there's not, I guess in the big mega tech, there's not anybody who's like gapping up higher right now, and so that's very cautious for me on the long side for sure. So we'll just kind of see how the open goes, but it looks a little bit more near term, not bearish, but I don't know if we're going up. So I guess we'll see what the charts look like. And let's see for the NQ here. So we did have, so for the dark pools, we did have a dark pool printed on Monday, which coincides with way down here, which was kind of after hours trading, and then we went up. And we went up, kind of tested this like imbalance level here, where we had, I guess I can kind of super zoom in here, like on that big down candle. Um, we had a bunch of imbalance here. If y'all can see that on the screen, not sure. Can we? Yeah, we can. So I was basically looking for imbalance levels at every 1 point. Um, oh, I see. I can't put it on the actual. So at this level, there was a bunch of imbalance levels, right? And it looks like we were trying to clear that, and we didn't quite get there, or we got to that point. We kind of fell over a little bit, and then we gapped down. So just kind of watching things there. And if we look at the 1 minute here, right, you can kind of see we had those kind of stacked imbalance levels here, and that was the 24,960s to 24,980, so that 2,500 level. And we've kind of gapped down. If we look what's happening pre-market, I have to switch to the candles because the footprint doesn't like to display on pre-market. So here, interesting here. So we opened up, pushed up a little bit higher to those levels. I think we actually got into those levels and fell over and then just fell over. And what makes me sad is I remember looking at the charts on my phone around this time and I was like, ooh, it's like we pushed out, we're kind of going down, and I was like, oh, let's just see. And here we go. Down we go. We nearly tested, yeah, this low here, but we kind of held this previous day low. So that is something to watch. But it looks like we're kind of pushing back up. So we shall see how we go if we just kind of, have another push. Um, it's a pretty wide range. I think, here is interesting. We have to see how price reacts at this level, this 24717. So I'll be watching that, watching previous day low. Also, this 224,800s. We'll be watching that as well. And we'll just kind of see how we go. I think there's probably, if we push up, there's probably a short, I think, at those levels. Um, and if we go and break this low of day, maybe there's a short back down to these kind of dark pull levels. And then obviously we have the dump off, but I think there's a lot of range. So I would be just kind of watching and seeing how price reacts at this 24,700s, 24,800s, and also if we kind of open up and we base and things turn green, maybe there's a long. But Yeah, I think I just have to really see how the first like 5-10 minutes shakes out for the NQ before doing anything. So there is that. I guess we can check the ES here really quick if anything looks different in the pre-market. And kind of the same story. Nothing. Actually, no, no, no. Not the same story, is it? Let's see. So if we look at the NQ, so the NQ actually held up. So opening price for NQ was this 24,480 yesterday, and then we just opened and we went up, and we haven't actually broken that. Is that true? Does that show on the daily? So we haven't broken it. It's saying that, but then on the ES, we have broken that, and we've kind of closed that gap a little bit. I wonder if that's showing the on the daily here, or did I miss that? Because I thought it did say that. Yeah, right. So the ES definitely broke that. How come it's not showing that on the Qs? Oh, that's yeah, that's interesting. Did I not? Maybe I did miss that on the indexes here really quick. Let me look at that. So it's interesting. So on the micros, we didn't break the low here, right? Yeah, for some. Huh. So that's interesting. So on the micros, didn't break the low, which is a little weird. But then on the NQ, we did. And obviously, the NQ is what we need to follow. So that's interesting. So that's something for me to kind of pay attention to here on the trading the micros, is we did actually break these lows, which might mean on the micros there's probably a kind of a inefficiency between price, like a kind of a gap, um, not a gap, but like price didn't follow each other exactly. So maybe actually, now that I've noticed that, there could be a little bit more down move for the micros, I guess, to kind of just make sure that we close that gap, unless maybe it was just this opening was a little bit off for the NQs versus the micros. Let's look at this really quick. Yeah, so 24548 is more or less that opening price, and 24480. Oh, I see. 548. Okay, so 480. Interesting. So it's not necessarily where price is now. So the low that we printed pre-market was 24,500, right? 24,500 micros, 24,500s. Okay. So it's kind of interesting. So I'll just see how price, if we get down here, how, if anything weird happens between the two. But good to know that this isn't following each other exactly. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Sorry about that side quest. That's just me really doing a little bit of investigation on price here. Cool. So yeah, I think plan for the morning is 24,700s, 24,800s. Looking for potential shorts if we get up there. I think if we hold above 24,580s at the open, this previous 4 hour low, and I think the previous 4 hour low. If we can hold above that, um, even if we base around, even if we kind of sweep it and go back up, I think um, there, like I'll look for a long potentially if it looks like everything's poised. Only because there was like really good, not really good earnings, but good earnings on all the financial stuff, and so that could push up the S&P, which maybe NQ can move in sympathy if there's nothing really pushing it down further. So we'll just kind of see. And obviously, if no other crazy tweets and stuff like that happen. So cool. Well, that's it for me. Sorry for the ramble. Just kind of went on a little side quest with the charts. Good luck and don't get caught. Thank you.